Hello everybody, how y'all doing today? It's your old hillbilly buddy Leo, and I am actually out today on a 2-day filming mission, doing some camping not far from here. I am in Whitesburg, Kentucky right now at the Sandlick Creek Cemetery. Sandlick Creek Cemetery rests in the Appalachian foothills of southeastern Kentucky in a small town named Whitesburg. And during the war between the states, it was located near the home of John A. Cottle, a Confederate sympathizer and father of Colonel Benjamin E. Cottle of the 13th Kentucky Cavalry. He was one of the immortal 600. And I'll let y'all look that up if you want to.
In 1864, 600 Confederate prisoners of war, all officers, were taken out of a prison camp in Delaware and transported to South Carolina, where most were confined in a Union stockade prison on Morris Island, becoming known as the Immortal 600.
It was his father's property where Colonel Cottle would drill and train the men under his command, and also where a hospital was established for Confederates in the area. As men from the regiment died, many of them would come to be buried on this nearby hill, and it's also where Cottle's own parents would come to be buried one day. This section of cemetery where the Southern defenders lie at rest was neglected and forgotten over the decades. For many years it was covered in weeds and lost to time, until concerned people recently found where these graves were located. With the assistance of some surviving records, several of the Confederate graves were able to be completely marked. But for many here, there's only a stone with a Southern Cross insignia and the words, "Unknown Soldier." That's because many of the records from the old Confederate hospital right down over the hill here, I'll get to that in just a second, were burned by Union troops. See, the majority of these soldiers had died in a military hospital that was established near the cemetery in the fall of 1861 by orders of General Humphrey Marshall. The general's army was referred to as the Army of Eastern Kentucky, and it consisted of the 5th Kentucky Infantry, 1st Kentucky Mounted Battalion, the 21st, 29th, and 54th Virginia Infantries, Jeffrey's Battery, and several independent cavalry companies. Diseases like mumps, measles, and dysentery ravaged the Confederate Army, resulting in dozens of deaths. The majority of the men were buried here in the Sandlick Cemetery, though some were taken home by loved ones to be buried in family cemeteries. Northern soldiers burned the hospital in the fall of 1862, resulting in the loss of almost all of the records. Ongoing research by the Cottle Camp and several historical groups is still being conducted here in an attempt to identify the unknown soldiers buried here. Now, how wild is that? Now, I been panning around while I was talking to kind of show y'all a little bit, kind of give you a gist. But I don't know how well you can see these. There's a Confederate flag right in the center. 1861 to 1865. Dozens of Confederate soldiers from Kentucky and Virginia died at a military hospital located 1,000 feet west of here. Okay? Right over yonder. Let's see. At the confluence of the Sandlick Creek and at the North Fork of the Kentucky River. Most were buried in this cemetery in plots donated by John Cottle, father of Colonel Ben E. Cottle, commander of the 13th Kentucky Cavalry, Confederate States. When the hospital was at full capacity, residents of Whitesburg were treated and cared for Confederate soldiers in their homes. Most of the records of these soldiers' identities were destroyed in the war. Therefore, the majority of the interred heroes will forever be known but to God. It's a little bit of a unique cemetery. You know, we've taken you to a lot of cemeteries over the year. Well, since we've been doing this, we've taken y'all to a lot of cemeteries. But this one is a little bit unique. Like I said, this one was actually lost. It's a Confederate cemetery that was actually lost. And, you know, like I said, some people, locals and a few historical groups and things like that got together. They had heard the stories. They knew it was somewhere near here and got to looking, and they came up and found this place. And this is the final resting spot of all of those Confederate soldiers. Now, I'm just going to kind of run through real quick and show you guys some of these. This is John Bolin, Private Company B, 4th Kentucky Cavalry, 1863. John T. Ogden, Private Kentucky MTD Rifles, Mounted Rifles, okay, 1840 to 1862, 22 years old. George W. Shoemate, Private Company H, 5th Kentucky Infantry, 1835 to 1862. You notice these guys, as we go through here, you guys notice, these are mostly young people. These are mostly young men. George W. Brown, Private Company H, 5th Kentucky Infantry, 1836 to 1862. Levi Oakley, Private Company H, 5th Kentucky Infantry, 1843 to 1862. David J. Catan, 2nd Lieutenant, Company K, 5th Kentucky Infantry, 1844 to 1862. William Barker, Company K, 5th Kentucky Infantry, 1843 to 1862. Andrew Lewis, Private Company B, 5th Kentucky Infantry, Confederate States, 1843 to 1862. Very familiar, isn't it? 43, 44, and then 1862. Notice that date, 1862. These 14 Kentuckians died in a Virginia hospital. Buried and forgotten, their graves were lost. Here we honor their sacrifice. Colonel Ben E. Cottle, camp number 1629. George W. Knipp, Private, 5th Kentucky Infantry, 1844 to 1862. William Wells. I guess we could probably skip the 5th Kentucky Infantry. You know, pretty much all of them are, except for a couple. I'll just mention the ones that aren't from here on out. Okay. Charles Manning, Private, 1844 to 1862. Elijah Goebel, 1821 to 1862. Tazewell Phillips, 1843 to 1862. William Hurst, 1839 to 1862. And here are some of the lost ones. Unknown soldier. Unknown soldier. And you can see there's rows of those. Whole rows. And no one Absolutely no one knows who these people are. Like I told you, known only to God. Unknown soldier. And there's a whole bunch of those too. A lot of them, some had these old marker stones like this, but most of them I'm sure were just bare ground until these markers were placed recently. Just look at this. Unknown, 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 unknown. 3 rows of unknowns. And you can see there's more all through here. Some of them have stones, some of them don't. There's the son, William Cease, the son of Mary Cottle, right there. That one's got a something. Is that a dove? I guess it's a dove. Let's see. Now, there's more of them, obviously, and I guess some of the older ones were kind of left, but there's another row of unknowns with only one marker, one actually known. It's 3rd Sergeant John T. Kelly, Company H, 13th Kentucky Cavalry, killed in action, Cynthiana, Kentucky, June 11th, 1864. You don't run into a lot of those. I mean, you run into a lot of Confederate. There were soldiers, you know, for either side, but to find them, you know, where it says KIA, that's a little bit different. You don't see a lot of those. You know, I'm sure a lot of them were. You know, all of these people were, you know, illness related, you know, in the hospital, but I'm sure some of them also were gunshot wounds and, you know, injuries sustained in battle, that sort of thing. This is Private Henry Combs, Company C, 13th Kentucky Cavalry, 1836 to 1862. Nelson Mosley, 13th Kentucky Cavalry, 1834 to 1863. James Howard, 13th Kentucky Cavalry, 1843 to 1863. William Francis, 13th Kentucky Cavalry, 1831 to 1863. 3rd Sergeant Ephraim H. Cottle, Company B, 13th Kentucky Cavalry, 1841 to 1863. 2nd Sergeant Wesley Grigsby, 1841 to 1863. Private John W. Tyree, 13th Kentucky Cavalry, 1842 to 1863. Abner Cottle, 1839 to 1863. George W. Sloan, 1839 to 1863. John Sloan, I wonder if they're brothers. John Sloan, 13th Kentucky Cavalry, 1834 to 1863. Oliver Stewart Gray, 13th Kentucky Cavalry, 1839 to 1863. This is Private John Helms, Company 1, 13th Kentucky Cavalry, 1825 to 1863. This is probably one of the older ones. This is one of the older folks here, isn't it? Private Sampson Southwood, Company G, 13th Kentucky Cavalry, 1844 to 1863. A little Confederate soldier standing here. But I did miss this back row right here. I did notice that. I came down and got that front one. Yeah, I don't remember these. I don't remember a Prather. Thomas Prather. All it says is 5th Kentucky Infantry, died 1862. We don't have a birth date for this gentleman. Mark M. Hall, Company D, 1844 to 62. David Hamilton, Mounted Rifles, 1827 to 1862. So he's the second oldest here, wasn't he? Straley Adkins, 4th Sergeant, Company B, 1842 to 1862. 2nd Sergeant Andrew J. Green, Company K, 5th Kentucky Infantry, 1832 to 1862. John Alfred Hewlett, February 19th, 1842 to January 31st, 1862. It's wild, isn't it? I was just thinking when I was saying that, 1842, and then 100 years ago, World War II, and then we're almost 80 years past that. Wild, isn't it? How old these graves are. 1840, 1860. It's a long time ago, isn't it? It's not nothing to these guys, though. It was just a blink of an eye to them, wasn't it? That's a unique name. Fountain Goodpaster, 5th Kentucky Infantry, 1845 to 1862. Fountain Goodpaster. It's a unique name, isn't it? I have a ancestor named Pleasant, so, Pleasant Childers. He was a Revolutionary War hero. James B. Puckett, Company A, 5th Kentucky Infantry, CSA. Died February 10th, 1862. But near as I can tell, the two rivers, one comes down here, one comes down there, so the hospital should have been either over here, somewhere right in this area. From there to about right down in here somewhere should be where the old Confederate hospital stood at. Private Joseph E. Cornett, 5th Kentucky Infantry, April 28th, 1814 to May 30th, 1890. That makes him the oldest one here for sure that I've seen. 1814, excuse me. That makes him the oldest person that I've seen so far in this graveyard. Of course, a lot of the older ones won't have markings, but still, an odd place for a cell tower, isn't it? Right on a graveyard. Anyway, wow, this is a note that was found on a dead Confederate soldier. It says, I asked God for strength that I might achieve. I was made weak that I might learn humbly to obey. I asked for health that I might do greater things. I was given infirmity that I might do better things. I asked for riches that I might be happy. I was given poverty that I might be wise. I asked for power, that I might have the praise of men. I was given weakness, that I might feel the need of God. I asked for all things, that I might enjoy life. I was given life, that I might enjoy all things. I got nothing I asked for, but everything I had hoped for, almost despite myself. My unspoken prayers were answered. I am among all the people most blessed. Wow. It says at the bottom that was a note that was found on a dead Confederate soldier's body. Wow. This one's about potter's fields. It said, where are the potter's field? Where are the fields of potter? Where do bodies lay? They lay beneath the fodder, those men of blue and gray. They are hidden on a mountain or by a gentle stream. At dusk I hear a faint shouting as they walk in between. They hide within the valleys, just praying to be found. Their numbers can't be tallied. They're hidden underground. Remains of them are scattered on dust and on the wind. Their life on earth was shattered by bullets from a friend. But where is their location? Will their secrets be revealed? Unknown, they await salvation within the potter's field. Wow. Wow. Well, that's pointed. This is the children of William W. Long and Martha Jane Cottle, an infant, stillborn, April 11th. Rachel, March 30th, 1884 to May 30th, 85, and Willie Long, October 24, 1888 to September 13th, 1890. Wow. That is really humbling, isn't it? Huh. I've said before, I've said it, I'll probably say it again. You think you know what you're doing when you come out to these sites. You think you gotta, you know where you're going, you know what you're looking for, you know who you're looking for, you know where it's at. But you don't expect stuff like that. You know? You don't expect that stuff, do you? Did not see that one coming. You can see there's old, look here. Something was there. Someone's worked on that rock and started and drilled a little hole through it. Who knows? Could have been to hold that tree up when it was a little bitty thing. Who knows? I'd say it probably, these two probably were placed here. You know, that's about, or left here if nothing else. Or they just look kind of, I don't know, like they were left to be decorative in the middle of the graveyard. Something along those lines. But anyhow, I guess I better get on out of here. Yeah, it's kind of cold today. It's been snowed a little bit last night. About 30 today. So I guess I need to get on out of here and head on up to my campsite. I've got a, like I said, 2-day video gathering. There's more children of the Cottles right here. I didn't even see these. This is Joseph, son of John and Rachel Cottle, 4 years old. Nathaniel, son of John and Rachel, 1844 to 1848. It's the same dates as those. 1844 to 1848. Both of these. Nathaniel and Joseph. Mary, the daughter of John and Rachel Cottle, 1828 to 1840. And John Cottle himself. John Cottle, January 1st, 1798 to May 10th, 1873. And that's his original stone right there. Can't really make out a whole lot on it. Nope. But this was placed here by the Letcher County Historical Society. And here is Rachel, right beside of him. Rachel Cornett Cottle, 1807 to 1887. Wife of John A. Cottle, Letcher County Historical Society. Can't really tell. These are also Collins too. All of these are. You can't really see dates on much of them though. That one's stillborn. These are children. Wow. Infant son of Mrs. L. Dow Collins. Infant of Mr. and Mrs. L. Dow Collins. Twin babies of Mr. and Mrs. L. Dow Collins. Wow. Infant of Mr. and Mrs. L. Dow Collins. Infant of Mr. and Mrs. L. Dow Collins. Oh my God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They lost 10 children, guys. I've never heard of such a thing. Wow. I'll have to come back when I have more time. I really need to come back over here when I have some more time, because it wraps around. It goes all the way out, back around the hill, and there's a whole nother section over that way. Wow. Now, I'll have to come back. It's too big for one day. This is more than I'll have time for today. Look at that one. Sarah Brown Cornett. Okay, that's Joseph's wife. Sarah Cornett. Somebody spelled the name. Oh. Look here. I just noticed this. They spelled her, presumably, he's spelled with an E. Cornett. They misspelled her last name. And born. It says borned. B-O-R-N-D. Borned. In 1815. And died April something. Can't really tell the date. It's broken off down here. It's like 1890 something. Yeah, 1892 on here. Can't really tell on that one though, but it's on that one, 1892. Look at that one. Okay, that's his. It's Joseph's footstone. Yeah, 1814, 1890. One says 1890 there. This one says 1891. But you'll see that. That's actually pretty common too. It says 1890 there and 91 on his footstone. Which I'm guessing this is probably the original footstone here. And that's the original headstone behind the newer one. So pretty. Wow, look at that. Stars on it. Executive Judge J.E. Cornett. That one's spelled with an I. Was born B-O-R-N-D April 28th, 1814, and died March, hang on. Yeah, May 30th, 1890, yeah. It's an interesting looking stone though, isn't it? That's all carved. Huh, it's got stars all in it. A heart. Look at the detail. Okay, well, I better get out of here. I'd hang out here all day if I could. Just roaming around looking at these. There's more here. More historical society stuff. This is amazing. I love old places like this. I love this. The old flag. That's not because it's Confederates either. If it was Northerners, I'd be in the same graveyard. I'd be in that one too. Southern state though. Well, anyway, guys, I guess I better get on out of here. I've still got to get back up to my little campground and get all of my stuff out and get set up. Got me a great little camping spot picked out. I'm by a lake all by myself. Got the entire lake all to myself. But anyway, alright guys, I guess I better get out of here and get on up the road, I suppose. So anyway guys, we'll talk to y'all a little bit later.